Hello, my name is Afi Rule. I am a veteran and a sewist, and I wear what I make. I teach other sewists how to wear what they make. If you want to wear what you make, go to wearwhatyoumake.com and check me out there. All right, so March is Women's History Month, and I could think of no better woman in history as a sewist and now designer, and even as an artist, to talk about than Anne Lowe. She was America's first African-American couturier. She may have been one of the first, but I think she is documented as the first African-American couturier. And couture is basically handmade specialty items that are made exactly in specification with a person's body and their likes and dislikes. So the reason why I want to talk about Anne is because Anne was a phenomenal designer who also sewed, and she just didn't get the credit that she deserved for her achievements. Her career was thought... So Anne's career was thought to have started when she was about 5 years old, and she was born in 1898, by the way. So, and she died in 1981. So just to give you some context in terms of what was going on in America in terms of history and things like that. So she was thought to have started sewing as early as 5 years old, alongside of her grandmother, who was a very capable seamstress and was actually sewing high-end garments for her mistress, which I believe was the First Lady of Alabama, because Anne was born in Clayton, Alabama. And Anne's mother was a very talented embroiderer. So it's thought that she, kind of got the best of both worlds, and that was passed down to her. And in fact, she inherited the family's business, if you will, at age 16 when her mother unfortunately passed away, and she had some unfinished gowns that I guess the demand was to finish them, and so that fell to Anne. Now, I believe it was in 1917, she went to a design school in New York, where, of course, she experienced racism and likely sexism and was not allowed to learn with the rest of the class. She was separated from the rest of the class. And even though she was treated poorly because of her race and her gender, she was actually one of the students that the instructor asked to show other students how to do things. Personally, if I was Anne, I probably would have just said no, but that's just me. Anyways, moving right along. So after that, or while she was in New York, she ran into a Tampa, Florida socialite who liked her clothing, the way that it was made, and she invited her to come down to Tampa to live in her house and to work for her for wages. And Anne wound up making not just her clothes, but that of her family's. And Anne was recruited to sew gowns in one of the Gasparilla Parade presentations. And so a couple of her dresses and gowns are actually still on display at, I believe, the Henry Plant Museum. And so actually that was a really big deal for me, because I'm from Tampa, and it just makes me proud that, her beginnings of her career took off there, and that her work is showcased in a museum in my hometown. That's pretty cool. So after this, it seems like her career took a downhill, and I believe it's because she may have gone back to New York, and I'm not sure if she was really trying to expand her horizons and whatnot, but she moved away from Tampa, Florida, and she started to pick up and started working with department stores and different things like that. But of course, because of racism and sexism, she wasn't getting the same treatment, the same fair treatment that her peers were getting. And so she started to suffer financially. And not only that, but her clientele treated her poorly and would routinely haggle her down on her prices. So not only were they haggling her down on her prices, but they were also not giving her credit for her work. One such incident was at the 1947 Oscars when one of the actresses wore one of her gowns there and won Best Actress in a specific category. That should have been like a really big opportunity for Anne to be able to, you know, get her name out there and build up her clientele. But this actress took Anne's label off of her gown and replaced that label with a very popular Jewish designer. And this type of treatment seemed to be like a hallmark of what happened between Anne and her clients, because again, she was routinely haggled down on her prices and she was treated in a manner that was just so despicable. But you know, it didn't give way to credit for her work. And when you do things like we do, you know, putting respect, getting respect on your name is really how you're gonna make it as a creative. So I feel like one of the really, really terrible parts of Anne's story was in 1953, was when she was commissioned to complete Jackie Kennedy's wedding dress and that of her bridesmaids. And actually, I do apologize, I just called it a dress, it was a gown. She was commissioned to complete Jackie Kennedy's wedding gown and the gowns of her bridesmaids. So basically, long story short, what happened is about a week prior to the wedding date, she had a freak accident with some busted pipes in her studio. Everything was wiped out due to flooding. All of the dresses and everything were damaged. So she and her team had to repurchase all of the materials, including all of the fabric, which is, from what I understand, a lot of fabric, and it was expensive fabric because it was bridal fabric. And they had to recreate everything in like a week. And so she lost money on that commission because her concern was more about getting the job done and maintaining her reputation as someone who delivers than it was to just basically just say, this is what happened and I can't complete the job. So once she finished everything, she went to take everything to, you know, whatever place was agreed for her to deliver it to. She was told that she was not allowed to go through the front entrance, that she had to go through the back. And it was reported that she said, if you can't let me go through the front, I'm going to keep the dresses. And so she was permitted to go through the front. The kicker for all of this for me, throughout all of this, was everybody wanted to know who made her gown. When she was asked who did the gown, she said a colored dressmaker. And not only that, but she supposedly said that it was, you know, basically like a lampshade. So yeah, that entire thing was just, that was really heartbreaking for me, because I feel like Anne really deserved better treatment than that, but she didn't get it. But that's why I am here talking about Anne, because she inspires me. So if you go to mag.wherewhatyoumake.com, you can get the full rundown there, along with links to all of the research that I found and everything like that. Anne really deserves our consideration. She deserves honor for what she did and all of her achievements. And she deserves to live on as someone who really changed the face of fashion in America, because she did. So here's to Anne. Anne, may you rest in fashion. And if you want more talks like these, just make sure that you like, share, or subscribe. And again, you can connect with me at wherewhatyoumake.com. You can also get the full rundown on Anne if you go to mag.wherewhatyoumake.com, and I'll have all the links below. So I'll talk to you guys later. Have an awesome day. Bye.